first lesson is drink coffee.
The first lesson is drink coffee.
Then I'm already dead. I don't drink.
Oh goodness, that's okay. You can harness your chi energy or whatever it is you do.
I haven't tried, but yeah, why not?
All
I
right.
will try.
Shall I begin, or
Yeah.
or should we wait? Do you need to start recording or whatever? Or
We're recording now.
Okay. All right. So I don't want this to take too long. 15, 20 minutes max, and then more time for discussion. Feel free to interrupt me if you need to. The way I've structured this is in two parts. Is the first I'm gonna give you a vision of how, if you want to get into the self-publishing business, how your company could possibly look, and it's basically telling you what my company looks like today. It wasn't perfect from the very beginning. I had a lot of trial and error and failures. I think I've made something very nice over the past 3 years. And so I'll give you a vision of how you can accomplish if you want to get into publishing your own books and stuff. That will be the first part. The second part will be specifically how to market a book. The thing about marketing is I'm telling you how I market my books, but then again, I've got a fairly big company. So in the end, what I'll do is I'll narrow down to how you can get started with no budget, and if you have only one book, or if you have no books, and basically how to at least get started on that path, so that eventually, once you start making income, then you can start increasing and doing bigger things. Yeah. So how to build a publishing company from scratch.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome.
Pete from Irish Times.
Please have a. I'll tell you what. Why doesn't somebody take this chair, and we can have one here, and sure, you can have this chair. You can put one more here.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
So you're just in time. The first thing you need to do before you start a publishing business is to find out where you fit in. And so what I did was rather complicated. You don't have to be this complicated, but I developed something called a spider. And my spider went into Amazon.com and crawled through millions and millions of records, and it looked for what books are selling, what are the price points for each book, how high the books can rank. And based on all these factors and many other factors, I was able to come up with a cluster of genres that were in demand. I know they were in demand because people were paying high prices for them. They were looking for books like this, but that there was an undersupply in the market. So that's where you can find this is where you find a competitive advantage. You find where people are looking for these books as something that you can do that no one else can do, and right over here you have your competitive advantage. And so that's how I determined what I was going to write. If you are to develop a publishing company from scratch, then I didn't do this, but this would be something that I'm moving into, is to never think of writing a single book, but to think of writing entire collections. Now, your collections can be books that take place in the same world, or with the same characters across books, or they can be connected thematically. Right now, my books are connected in terms of theme. But the more interconnections you have between they don't have to be in a series, a particular linear series, although it does help, because then you get read through. But if you can think in terms of collection, then now you're thinking not like an author, but like a business person. Like you don't want somebody to read one book and they say, hey, great, I read one book of yours and that's finished. You want them to read 30 or 40 books. You want them to be a rabid fan. You want them, the only books they ever read are your books, kind of thing. So that's why it helps to think in terms of collection. If you do need to divert to something that's very different from what you're currently doing, then I would suggest having another pen name. And it's always useful to write with a pen name because it keeps a little bit of distance between you and the reader. And another advantage of having a pen name is you can create a persona that might not even be your own persona. Say, you're a soft-spoken person, you can create a persona of someone completely different and then that gives you marketing advantages as well. Plotting. There are a lot of people who don't like the idea of plotting. They think, no, I'll just write from whatever. I'll just come up with, it'll just flow. The universe will flow through me. But plotting is a way to translate these messages from the universe into things that people can understand and comprehend. It's like translating it into human language. So the way to learn to plot is to watch the greatest movies, read the greatest books of literature, see how they've structured their stories, find the commonalities, read the classics. Whenever you read a book, whenever you watch a movie, get in the habit of analyzing. All right, this is the climax, this is character development, find out why everything is placed where, and very soon you'll start to, when I first started outlining my novels, I was looking at, okay, here's the rising action, and this is, now we're breaking into Act 3. I stopped doing that. After around book 10, it sort of just becomes second nature, and you play around with it, and you don't have to follow those rules anymore. But once you learn those things, once you learn the rules, then you can break them. Characters should be rich. One mistake I made in the beginning was my characters were rather one-dimensional. Ooh, we have someone. Are you Kelly?
Yes.
Welcome. Come in. We're on slide 2, so you're not too late. We don't have a chair for you though. So what are we going to do? Can you go grab one maybe? Yeah.
I was going to, but there's always a no-show. There's always like 2 or 3 no-shows. It turns out that everyone's, I think it's Vicky. Everyone wants to see Vicky.
It's me.
I think that's it, like no one, right? Line nothing.
James isn't here yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, just
Still got James.
Characters. So one of the mistakes I made in the beginning was my characters were rather one-dimensional in the beginning, as is with the romance genre, because people are looking for, the main character of a romance novel almost tends to be the same in every single romance novel. He's always masculine. He's always big. He's always got some like almost superhero quality. But you can play around with that, and you can mess around with that, and you can subvert expectations. So characters should be rich, shock, surprise, delight, outline like crazy. Even if you're using ghostwriters, come up with like a basic structure of how you want the thing to go. So what I did was, originally I was writing my own books, but it would take me too long to write my own book. So eventually I started writing very rough drafts of books. Like an 80,000 word book, I would write 10 or 15,000 words, and I wouldn't care about grammar or anything like that. I would just write it like as roughly as possible and just make sure it made sense and hand it to a ghostwriter. Now, the way I work with ghostwriters is I train them. So I've given my ghostwriters writing tests, and I qualify them based on that. And even after I give them writing tests, I give them a style guide. I say, this is how you have to write. And I start them off with short stories, and then single standalone novels. And now the ones who really know how to write exactly like me, like they could fool people into thinking it was actually one of my novels, those are the ones I'm giving the series. So once you build your sort of team of ghostwriters, you can start pushing out books, 10, 15, 20 books a year. There's no limit to, and you would look like just this really prolific author, Hire only the best, train obsessively, be ruthless. If there's even the slightest dip in quality, you have to point it out. And you have to tell them, listen, there's a little mistake here. You have to fix this. Oh, goodness. Hi. Come in. Standing room only. Sorry. Yeah, and you have to keep your writers continuously occupied, because once you don't have any work for them, then they'll just get bored and they'll go somewhere else. And you have to keep seeing how you can improve on your previous self. Polished to perfection. So this was one very sad thing for me, is that I actually had some books that I had written, and I realized, listen, this is not going to work, and I had to eliminate it. And it breaks your heart because you put so much effort into one book. But if a book is not wonderful, don't bother publishing it. Another thing I did was I had a bunch of shorter books written. I consolidated those into a single book, and sold it. You have to, editing is, just getting one single editor is not enough. a great idea is to get a team of beta readers, and I'll tell you later on how you can get beta readers. Beta readers, who, especially people who give you feedback paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter, they will accelerate your growth so much. I've been only writing for 4 years, and I talk like someone who's been writing forever, because my beta readers, they analyzed every little thing for me, and they sort of helped me grow that much quickly. Once you've written your books, generally what I do is I write my books 6 months to a year in advance, so I have a stock, and then I can release them on a schedule, maybe once a month or twice a month or whatever. But before publishing, I go through the entire book again, and I amp up the drama, I amp up the visuals, I add humor, I add Easter eggs. Easter eggs sometimes could be like a connection with a previous book, or one Easter egg I like to add in my books is if somebody in my book is reading a book, I'll mention my author, like they're reading a so-and-so name, a Vikram book, whatever, you know, which is funny, and the readers, they find it a little bit cute. It's like a little bit of humor hidden. And authors' notes are something that people love, because once they finish reading the book, if they get a personal message from you at the end, like a little note saying, especially if you can anticipate what they're thinking and then answer their questions, like what happens to so and so, or how did, you know, talk about some little minor character that your beta readers connected with. If you put that in the author's note, then they're like, wow, this person actually understands me. Of course, work with multiple proofreaders. Do what works. Now, this is something that I resisted initially. These are posters from every Hallmark Christmas movie, and for some reason, every single Hallmark Christmas poster look exactly the same. And there's a reason. It's because the moment someone sees a poster like this, they will watch it, and it means the difference between getting, you know, 1 million people watching it versus 10 million people. It's not a joke. So the cover is. The book cover is absolutely essential for, you know, don't try to come up with something creative or clever. Look at the best sellers in your genre, maybe the top 5, and do some sort of spin on that, because that's guaranteed to sell, and it's a huge difference in sales. Marketing is in some sense, it's also it's an algorithm game. So like I said earlier, I had a spider. I use this software called KDP Rocket, and a couple of other things to basically go through Amazon and find all the things. Google SEO, keywords for advertising, so especially on Amazon. Amazon categories. For every book you put on Amazon, you can have up to 10 categories. So take advantage of those, find the categories find other categories in which you wouldn't normally put your book in, and put your book in there. And one important thing is to have a review team. Have a group of people. I have 800 people who, whenever I release a book, they will go and read my book, and then they'll write reviews, and they'll post reviews all over the place, and in exchange for a free book. And so the moment my book is released, I have like hundreds of reviews for a book, and I'm getting like, you know, 4.8 stars, and this really helps people look at your book and say, wow, this is credible, rather than just publish a book and have like one review from your mother or something like that, you know. Develop online real estate. So you need a Facebook page. That's non-negotiable. Because when people search for you, the Facebook page shows up first, and it's how they contact you, and it makes you seem like a credible person. Website, I strongly urge you to have a website. It does take a little bit of time and money to put into a website, but if you have one, it's the place where you can show your personality. There's nothing censored. You can absolutely be yourself. Choose your own colors, choose your own pictures, choose everything. But the most important thing about a website is it provides a place for you to collect people's emails. And there's nothing more important than collecting people's email addresses, as I'll explain. And you can sell your entire catalog. You can sell your entire back catalog. You can say, oh, library, and here's all my books and all that stuff. Aside from that, it's helpful to have a Facebook group. The difference between a group and a page is just putting out announcements, whereas a group is to interact with your fans. So I have a group for my review team, and then I just tease them and have fun with them, and, you know, show some personality. Instagram I'm not on. TikTok is huge. I don't know much about TikTok, but a lot of authors are telling me that they're making massive amounts of sales on TikTok, and there's actually some authors who have courses on, like a quick 5-day course on how to capitalize TikTok and stuff. But apparently, like, they put out one TikTok. They put out like 3 or 4 TikToks a day, but they put one and then they go and they check their dashboard, their Amazon dashboard, and there's already a spike in page reads. And so somehow people are just minting on TikTok. You should also have a BookBub, Goodreads, and an Amazon Author Central. These take only a few minutes to set up, but again, they just help you build credibility. By far the most important thing that you can do if you choose just one thing to do in terms of marketing, email marketing. Every time I send out a broadcast, I get a spike in sales. I have 20,000 people on my email list. So I send like one email to these 20,000 people, and I check my dashboard, and it's like boom, $100, boom, $150, like just from pressing one button. It's unbelievable. Emails also give you the advantage of being able to hyper personalize. So you know what books people have read. You know how they discovered you, and then you can write emails specifically to specific groups depending on their interests. And you don't have to do it, you don't have to do it continuously. You can create conditions and rules where if certain people meet certain criteria, automatically send them this sequence of emails, kind of thing. When someone joins my email list, I know now for the next 6 months at least, they're going to be getting emails from me continuously, and I have to do nothing. And it's just a constant sequence of every 2 or 3 days, different things. It's not always the same. It's interesting. It's not some boring, please buy my book every email. I'll tell you exactly what kind of emails you can do. It's the lowest cost per click by far compared to any other medium of advertising. It's optimization heaven. So emails can be A/B tested. You can send the same email but with different subject lines and see exactly which subject line performs better, and then optimize that and test those subject lines, and you see how successful you are based on your open rates and based on your click rates. Then you can optimize other things within it, like your click button. For example, I was testing get your free book now versus get my free book now. People will click much more on get my free book now than get your free book now. And you wouldn't think about something like that, but this is the kind of optimization you can do. So definitely email list is crucial. The money is in the list. Build the biggest list possible. How do you build a huge list? I'm going to tell you these are paid ways. You definitely do not need to use paid methods, but I'll tell you the paid methods that I use. I use Facebook ads, only simply because my target seems to be on Facebook. The people who what I do is I put a free book and I say, click here to get your free book, and then they get the free book in exchange for their email address, and that's how I add them to my email list. I have 4 different books, so based on which book they choose, I know what their interests are. And you can really target them. You can keep testing and continuously optimizing and stuff. I know exactly what photograph and how dark it needs to be, and should I have a picture of a book in the photograph and everything. You can just keep testing forever. And they are expensive. And if you just put an ad and say, click to buy this book on Amazon, you're going to lose money. So that's not a smart way to use Facebook ads. What you should do is you should give a free book on Facebook to have them join your mailing list, and then use your mailing list to sell to them, and that's where you recuperate your expense. And that's how you can sell your entire catalog. Another less expensive way to build your email list is to have newsletter spots. So basically find other authors with a similar market and ask them or pay them a little bit to have them send a newsletter to their readers. The leads are not such good quality, but if you do this to many authors, say before you're launching a book, then it really does influence sales. Okay, I think we have ended part 1. Part 2, the sales process. So the first thing you need to do is you need to build a lead magnet. What's a lead magnet? A lead magnet is a book that's maybe 15,000 words, 12,000 words, whatever, anything. That you give to people for free, and once they read this free book, they'll love it so much that they'll want to read more, and you give it in exchange for your email address. So the purpose of the lead magnet is to grab their attention. collect their emails and blow their minds. Your lead magnet should be absolutely fantastic. It should be just an excellent piece of quality writing, because once they read this, they'll be like, oh my goodness, this author is incredible. I want to learn everything about them. I want to read everything they've ever written. So this one little thing, it's so important. So here's, for example, I have like multiple ads, and every time they click on an ad, it goes to a download page. I get their email address, and that's boom. Once I get their email address, I've got them for life, most likely. And so this is a screenshot I took yesterday of all the different ways. These are all the different ways that people enter my list. I have 10 different ways, and how many new people are joining my list every day. And at the moment, I've got 20,751 people on my list. It's wonderful to be able to watch this and see your list growing in real time every day, and be like, goodness, all these people are interested in me, little old me. What about me? You know, but it's good. So once you've pulled them into your mailing list, then you have to set them on the right path. Send them emails that are specifically targeting what it is that they're interested in. And maximize deliverability. So deliverability is, in email, nothing is more important than deliverability. You wanna send emails that people open. At the moment, I get a 42% open rate. Which is very, very high. It means 42% of people who I email open my emails, and I wasn't able to get this initially, but I kept optimizing and finding different ways to how often should you send, what subject line should you use, what kind of emails should you send, that kind of thing, in what order should you send them. Then you optimize for click rates. The emails that get good open rates and poor click rates tell me that my content is not good. So maybe I have a good subject line, but my content isn't good. So then I'll change the content to the kind that has better click rates. Personal responses. When someone joins your email list for the first time, it's nice to send them an email that sounds like it's just come from you. Like, hey, what did you think of the book? Reply to this email. Tell me what you think. Tell me a bit about you. I want to get to know you. Once you send them a personal response, two things happen. First of all, they're connected to you. They're like, oh my goodness, this author actually responds to his emails. I thought authors were so busy. But the second thing is, it trains Google to send your emails to people's inboxes, because once you're responding to people, once there's a bit of a communication going back and forth, Google says, oh, this is not just a bot, this is a human being. And so there's in Gmail, there's a promotions tab, and there's all these other tabs. All my emails always end up in the main inbox tab because of this kind of thing. So this is an example. So this is automations. So whenever somebody comes into a specific automation, then there's certain criteria of what happens. Like, are they on this list? If so, remove the tag, exit the automation. If they're not on the list, if they're a new person, then they go here. They get the welcome sequence. And if they're someone who's already gotten a welcome sequence, then don't give them the welcome sequence, but put them in the new list. You can come up with all sorts of complicated automations if you want to. Then here are sort of the statistics. Here's sort of A/B testing. I can see who opened it. This is open rate, click rate, how many people unsubscribe. People will unsubscribe, unfortunately. Google wants people to unsubscribe. They always have a button, hey, if you haven't opened an email from this guy in like a month, why don't you unsubscribe? So this is a test. I tested 2 subject lines. Turns out that the subject line is significantly more interesting to people.
I love your subject.
Oh goodness, you should see my subject lines. So once they're on your mailing list, you don't want to hammer them with ads for your books right away. You want to create a connection with them. You want to make them interested in you, excited about you, show off your personality. I communicate with my readers every 2 or 3 days, but it's absolutely not necessary to send emails every 2 or 3 days. Once a week is fine. Once every 2 weeks is also fine. Once a month, some people do. So the kinds of emails I send, I have a number of free books, and so maybe once every month or every 45 days, I send them an email saying, free book, get your free book now, because the free book emails get massive open rates. So if ever I want to boost my open rate, I just give. I mean, I have the book anyway. I might as well give it. You know, short stories. So I write a number of short stories that I send out as emails that are sort of thematically connected to my books, and but I only give them half the short story by email, and so at the bottom of the first half of the short story, there's a button that says, you know, continue reading. When they click to that, they go to my website. So now I've captured them. It has an SEO advantage. I've pulled them onto my website, so afterwards they'll go and look at everything else on my website. So that helps me sell everything in my catalog. And it's also nice because then it tells Google people are interacting, you know. And if someone clicks on a particular short story, now I know what kind of stories appeal to them, and then I can email them about specific books that would appeal to them. I send them sample chapters from books, usually the first chapter, so this sort of hooks them in and then they get really interested. I send them quizzes, that's just some interactive stuff. Quizzes are also interesting because they help you learn about your readers. If you can ask them what you're interested, what do you like, what you don't like, and stuff. I've got like all this amazing data now on what my readers are into. Blurbs, opinion pieces. So these are all things that reasons, legitimate reasons why you can contact people and why they would be happy to hear from you. You know, because you're not spamming them. But there does come a time when soft sales is not enough, and you need to go hard. So here are some of the call to actions that I use. Continue reading, find out why. This is a big one. Or sometimes I give them two. I say, do you prefer option A, option B? This is, you know, gets people into it. And sometimes I'll deliberately make option B terrible so that I know people are going to take option A, and then they're like, and then they'll email and be like, why did you even have option B? But you know, that's good. It's good drama. Okay, so hard sales. Take my money. Whenever I want to sell a book, I send them multiple emails. If someone doesn't open an email, I know that because I can track opens, and I will resend to unopens. And if someone opens the email but doesn't click, then I'll rewrite the email, find a different way to tell it to them, and then resend it to those who didn't actually click and buy the book. So when it comes time to sell, once I've done all the soft, you know, fuzzy stuff, I will go hard. Get the book now, get the book now. I will hammer them. The good thing about selling on Amazon, especially on Kindle, there's a thing called Kindle Unlimited, which is where people pay, I think it's $10 a month, and they can read as much as they want to read. So it's really a frictionless sales process, because you're never telling anyone at any point, pay me money. There's no price tag anywhere. It's just read it now, click here, and you can read. So it's a friction. It's all I'm really doing is telling them, hey, come and read this book. You know, and I get paid for making them do something that they've already paid for. So it's great. It's a good situation. Resales. So this is how you create superfans. Once you know someone's read a particular book, you can tell them, in the end of the book, you can say, here's what to read next, or get the entire collection, or here's, you know, also if you liked this thing, then you also like this. Fans of so-and-so read so-and-so. Here's a sample chapter from so-and-so. So these are all ways to say, basically, you know, continue reading, find out where else this goes, you know. And finally, you turn once people are your absolute rabid fans, then you have them do the job of selling books for you. So then you can relax, and you've got sort of a free sales team. Two things you can get people to do for you. One is to have a review team. And review teams are great for visibility. They really make your book look like this really credible book, you know. But another thing is a street team. I haven't used a street team so much, but a lot of other authors do. Is before they're launching, they will give memes and write-ups and things to their street team, and they'll say, listen, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, go everywhere, post this on all the groups, get excited about it, you know, tag me, do these things. And so this is how a lot of big authors manage to hype up their books. It's something to look into that I haven't done. So the big question is, how does someone who's just starting out, who's written one book or maybe not even one book, how do you get started? So the first step is to write your lead magnet. You could conceivably, you know, in one weekend write a 15,000 word book. It's not that difficult, and you can polish it up, and I think by the end of the week you could have something pretty good. And it'll be the best thing you've ever written because it's the most recent thing you've ever written. And once you've written your book, you have to format it. So just see how books are usually formatted. There'll be, a table of contents and a title page, and maybe there'll be a copyright page, and then there'll be whatever. Just make sure your internal the sections that you have in the book are consistent with other books in the industry. Then you go to Readz or Draft to Digital, and either of these websites will let you format your book for free. So that's a free service that they provide. Get a cover designed. If you want to design your own cover, if you have good graphic design skills, that's great. Otherwise, get a friend to do it for you. Worst case scenario, you pay someone. I usually pay $100 to get a cover designed. Absolutely not necessary. There are also some places where you can get pre-made covers and you just, add your title and all that stuff. Once you've gotten your lead magnet done, you host it on this website called BookFunnel. It's $20 a year. BookFunnel is the place where people, say you go and you tell people, listen, I have this free book. Click here to download my free book. They click and they'll go to a BookFunnel page, and they can enter their email and they can download your book. BookFunnel takes care of getting them to download your book for you, and it's a really good service because some people want them to read their book on a Kindle, some people want it in PDF format, some people want it in Mobi format for Apple or something. So BookFunnel takes care of all of that, all the different formats, and it puts a watermark and copyright protection. It's a great service. It's well worth the expense. $20 a year is the basic plan, and then there's extra things you can do. I pay a bit more because I integrate it with my email list. Sign up for ConvertKit. I've tried many different email marketing platforms. ConvertKit is the one that I found the best, and it's free for the first 1,000 subscribers. Then promote your lead magnet. So try to have arrangements with other authors in your genre, and then swap newsletters with them. Market each other. Your list can grow that way. Look into TikTok. TikTok is fantastic. And Facebook groups. So there are many Facebook groups that allow authors to promote their books. So look them up. There's hundreds of them, and just go and keep telling people about your books. And send out emails like once a week. I think initially would be okay, or once every 2 weeks. And that's about it. That's marketing in a nutshell. Any questions?
Cool.
These are all your tools you use, or there's more? Sure.
Oh, I use many more, but this is the basic stuff you should begin with. Yeah.
How long? Sorry.
Oh no, you go first.
I was just going to ask, what's the kind of timeline between when you first start a book and when you actually publish? Would you say?
I've brought it down to 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, I have a number of books going simultaneously, but I've streamlined the process down to I come up with an idea for a book, and then within 3 months I've got the final book. Yeah.
So you said you send newsletters out or emails out every 2 to 3 days. What do you actually talk about? Because as a beginner, I could send them pictures of my cats. I literally don't have anything that I wouldn't sign up to my newsletter.
Yeah.
It's gonna be boring. So what would you suggest for someone who is literally just toes first in the water?
Okay, so I have a very systematic way of thinking about it. Every book has 7 things that surround it. So the first is send a sample chapter from the book. Second is to send a short story that's thematically connected to your book, and it doesn't have to be long at all. The third is to send an opinion piece. So this can just be a couple of paragraphs, something controversial, something to get people thinking oh my goodness, no, how can you possibly say that? Something that causes a bit of an emotional thing. Another one is to send reviews. So whenever someone when I'm trying to sell a book, I'll tell people, here are what people say about my book, and then I'll give them a whole bunch of reviews. People love reading reviews because then it gives you social proof. Another thing is to just send a blurb. Actually, just send a picture of the cover, and then this is a blurb, and click here to buy now. You can do quizzes. You can do surveys. You can. Okay, you want to send pictures of your cat.
I don't. That was just
okay. No. Well. So what some authors do is they create themselves into a brand. And so if you are an interesting person, say for example, you do a lot of adventure sports, for example, then and if adventure sports is somehow connected to the books that you write, then you can show them the kind of stuff you'd put on Instagram.
Personal branding.
Personal branding, exactly. So it's an opportunity for personal branding, but you have to be an interesting person, or you have to create an interesting persona. My persona is not me. My persona is like a kind of a James. Not exactly. Even worse than that. It's a Russell Brand James Bond mashup, maybe. Yeah. Okay. We done. Cool. Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much for.
I had a question
Oh.
that I forgot.
Oh goodness.
You should
It's
write.
because I said Russell Brand, right?
With ConvertKit, in
Yes.
terms of all of the statistics that you get, like in terms of like click-throughs and opens, do you get all that through ConvertKit?
ConvertKit, yeah. You get all the data. It's not if I. So I actually spoke to the product manager of ConvertKit and I said you should provide this to us in a downloadable Excel so we can compare everything. They don't have that yet.
What about the automation functions, like automate this group, if this, then that? Is
Yeah.
that also ConvertKit?
ConvertKit has some pretty advanced automations. There, if you want even more advanced automations, you can go with ActiveCampaign. But ActiveCampaign doesn't like doesn't like swear words, and they don't like you talking about sex and stuff like that. So I go with ConvertKit. But, yeah. I'm switching this off. I have nothing more to say. So, holy shit, what's going on? Okay.
Anyone else have any questions, or?
How much time did you spend researching what was in the cell?
So what I didn't do it the correct way. If I were starting today, I would spend more time researching. What I did was it was trial and error. So I started on have you heard of a website called Wattpad? Yeah. So Wattpad is it's like a free platform where you post one chapter a day, one chapter at a time whenever you want to post something. And I just started posting some complete nonsense. And somehow it took off, and I could tell from people's comments what more they wanted and what they didn't want so much. And so I built my community from Wattpad. And by the time, I mean, I don't have an account there anymore, but near the end of it, I was getting like 1 million reads in a matter of weeks, and it was like I had sort of figured out what exactly people want. Spoiler alert, they want sex. So and just the filthiest stuff, like not even like clean, sweet, romantic stuff. They want like disgusting stuff. This is the world we live in.
It's all teenagers on Wattpad as well.
It is. It's no. This entire generation is just so messed up. It's unbelievable.
I've actually started using Wattpad too, just as a way to kind of get. I've not really promoted it, but I'm not because a lot of it's like a social media platform. So a lot of it is like you read other people's stuff and give feedback, and I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I haven't been promoting it, but I am gradually getting, and nowhere near your numbers. Like I think my books are like 1,000 reads each, but a lot of it's through word of mouth. Like people have like tagged me like, oh my god, people check this out.
Yeah.
But it's quite useful because it's like. You can also, not to the extent of that, but you can see the conversion rate, how many people read the first chapter, the second, like where you're losing them and stuff.
Yeah.
And like people leave comments, like, and they can leave comments on like each line pretty much if there's something that, so it's not the most sophisticated means of writing a book by any means, but if you just want like quick feedback that's free, if you're starting out, I think it's quite valuable.
I wrote one book entirely based on people's feedback. Like I wrote one chapter and I had no idea what the next chapter was going to be. And then based on people's comments, I wrote the next chapter, and then I introduced new characters. And then if they asked certain questions, then I'd make sure to answer those questions in preceding chapters. And literally, it was like a collaboration. It was it was a fun experience. Yeah.
Did you say that if you were starting now, you wouldn't go the Wattpad?
No, I wouldn't. I would research. So I would just I would get Publisher Rocket, the software, and then I would go on Amazon and see the gaps in the market, and I would do it in a more sophisticated way. That's what I'm doing now. So yeah, Wattpad is something to do if you have a lot of free time and you have if you don't mind wasting a bit of time and trial and error and stuff. But there's more sophisticated ways to do it, I would say.
And Publisher Rocket is a
Publisher Rocket is it's a piece of software. Yeah, it's a market research software.
Expensive.
I got lifetime membership, I think for $150. I don't remember now. Yeah.
And is it quite user friendly? I mean, for someone who's not really.
It's not very user friendly, unfortunately. Yeah, it's quite technical. There's a lot of moving parts, but you should spend some time getting. There are technical things that I didn't know in the beginning that I had to learn how to make a website. With HTML and CSS and Java integration. I had to learn email automations. I had to learn Publisher Rocket, and there's all these technical skills that if you learn it, it'll be useful. If not, then you can outsource it to someone, or you can find a way to bypass it. But learning it sort of saves you money. Facebook advertising, that's another big technical thing that you should sort of try to get good at. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my question. It was about Facebook advertising because I fail a lot on that. It's just waste of money for me. You mentioned that on Facebook advertisements you offer free book. So how do you do that? Where do they click and they get the book and things like that?
So the ad leads to a landing page on my website.
Okay.
And and then it just shows the picture of the book, the blurb, and then a place to enter the email. And then underneath
the
that.
Website or book funnel?
So book funnel is what I recommend that people start with. I do it on a website because I'm a crazy person. ConvertKit can also make landing pages that integrate with your website, but that's more technical. The reason I didn't say it is because that's like an extra technical step. I didn't do it initially, but that's what I'm doing nowadays. Just all the same stuff that you put on the ad and the same images that you put on the ad, put on your landing page. Facebook loves it because then there's a consistency, the same everything.
And your titles and stuff are very naughty. How Facebook don't
Are
ban
we-
you? I asked you the other time.
Are we still recording? I'm keeping this so PG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can end it. Well, I'll end the recording here.
Yeah,
And,
it's getting